Oh, really?
I thought you said we're live.
We are, but I gotta put it on the camera stand. Hello. Oh. Uh-oh. That's gonna push on the buttons. Gotta flip it. Hello? Hello. Good morning. Nobody's gonna join us this early, probably.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Just fine. Howdy, how do you do? Hello today.
What are we going to talk about?
I don't know, we might just be talking to ourselves anyway.
Right? It is kind of early. 6:15. I mean 7:15.
We could just start to chat with each other until something
Coffee?
comes on. Figure come on and do a live stream until it gets light out and we can actually do something. But one thing that's nice that we learned today is that the days are like, right now they're like 10 minutes longer here than in New Hampshire, but by Christmas they're almost an hour longer.
Right.
You're not talking to anybody over here.
I know.
I'm not really sure how good this connection is going to be.
Might be lousy.
I've had some people say the connection is alright, and then I've had some people say that the connection wasn't so hot. You check your phone?
I have one bar.
Oh.
What do we have for internet? Starlink?
Starlink. I'll connect you to it.
Oh yeah, I don't have internet. So the kids
Oh, really?
What?
You just swiped on your phone and I don't know what you turned on.
The kids, we got somebody watching. So the kids misbehave and Michael's already changing the internet password. So they can't get on the internet.
Well, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Right? Miss Emma's not always the perfect angel.
Somebody's joining and then not joining.
Right. Hi, whoever you are. Say hi in the comments.
So good morning if you're there, somebody say hi. At least we'll feel like we're not talking to ourselves. Although this early in the morning we probably are talking to ourselves.
Where's the chat?
It'll pop up.
Oh. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna see if our senior citizen dog will come in the house.
What a pain. You open the door for him, he won't come in because now he comes. And now he comes because he's got his younger sister with him.
Explain why though.
Now he wants food and water.
Now he's gonna race like a horse. He's at the dog track.
Get our geriatric dog.
Right?
Oh, there we are.
So yeah, he's 15, and some days he acts like a puppy, some days he acts like an old man. Looks like we got one person watching.
No, it just keeps flicking off and on. I think that happens with YouTube. It's like somebody monitoring your video or something. I don't really know.
Oh.
I don't know.
Well, if somebody's really there, say hi.
They will if they want to. Otherwise, they're just gonna watch and wait till we say something. So yeah, this morning we are gonna finish building the new log splitter we got and finish building a chicken coop. Gotta go get the blade sharpener from our shop over in town and bring it back here to the barn and set it up sort of a little blade sharpening room in the barn. We started building a loft in the barn. That's where Ryan's little studio apartment's gonna go when we get to building that out. Gotta build some stairs going up to it. We got a bunch of sawmilling we get done. Hopefully, in the next couple days, we're gonna have the new mobile home delivered. Bill Hansen. Hey guys, Bill from Warner. Hey, how you doing? Good morning. Good morning from Tennessee.
Right?
How's Warner this morning?
Yeah. How cold is it?
You can see it's a little chilly for us down here. I got our winter hats on.
It's what, 30?
We're spoiled. 30 here?
Yeah, 40?
No, it's like almost 50. It's like 45. But I think the high for today is 75.
Oh, so I can do laundry outside today.
Yeah, 75 and sunny.
We have an old-fashioned washing machine. What's it called?
It's a Speed Queen from the 1940s.
It's amazing.
It's a ringer washing machine with the ringer on it and the agitator you flip off and on. How's the connection, by the way? Is the video okay? Or 49 here, getting ready for the Fall Foliage Festival. Oh yeah.
I'm glad they're having it this year.
That's right. We missed the Fall Foliage Festival.
Maybe next year.
We lived in Warner for 6-7 years,
Yeah.
something like that. And I remember volunteering for that every year.
Yeah.
Video's good. Oh, great. Yeah, because we're on Starlink RV satellite. So, and the connection isn't 100% what it could be because right now we just have the satellite dish just sitting on top of the boys' camper, which is right behind us, which is next to the barn. So there's a little bit of an obstructed view. It's for the most part it's a decent view, but there is a little bit of an obstructed view. So the plan is to build a big post going up the side of the barn, secure it to the barn, and mount the Starlink to the top of that on the back side of the barn because it needs to face out towards the front of the barn. But by the front of the barn there's some trees, so mounting it to the back side of the barn, it'll allow it to see over all the trees because it'll be, probably 18 feet, 20 feet in the air. So that'll give it a good line of sight and we'll get much better service. So hopefully we'll maybe be able to work on that this week so we'll have better service at that point. The last few days have been kind of busy. We had some funny weather this weekend with the rain. We got a bunch of the rain from the hurricane. Didn't really get any too serious winds. We get some good breezy weather, but nothing crazy. We didn't get any sort of like thunderstorm wind weather like we usually get. The normal rain here, it's usually all or nothing. It's usually like a thunderstorm, lightning, wind, or no rain. But this rain that we just got over the weekend, you could tell was not your normal average rainstorm that we usually get, because all it did was pretty much just rain for 24 hours. And so we just got a whole bunch of water, which right now is a pain here because we're kind of under construction on our property. I've been excavating and everything. And so it's just mud, and it's not like your average mud that we're used to with sand, gravel, and just regular dirt. It's red clay, which sticks to the bottom of your feet.
Like glue.
It's like walking through like partially dried wood glue. And it just sticks to the bottom of your feet. And then if you walk through gravel after, like we have on our driveway, crushed stone, then it's like being tar and feathered. You get all that goopy, sticky clay, probably a inch thick layer of that. Then you step on the gravel driveway, and then the gravel sticks to it. And next thing you're standing about 1.5 inches taller than you normally are, and your feet weigh an extra 10 pounds each. So it's really kind of annoying. And then you can't go into the camper because that's just nasty, and it just completely destroys the inside of the camper. So and then even going in and out of the barn, we have a nice flat concrete floor. It's just really funky to walk on, and trying to scrape your feet off on the outside of it, there's really no great place to do that. So we need to start spreading some more crushed stone, and at some point soon here I'm gonna start spreading some grass seed and putting some straw over it so it'll start growing something, so at least it won't just be all mud. But we got the water line ran to the site where the mobile home's going to go. Get the sewer. Electrical's potentially going to come later. We're not really sure what we're going to do with that because the cost of electrical wire and conduit's gone up so much that it's going to be like $5,000 just to run electrical from the barn to the house, which, I mean, it's almost what we paid for the house. So I'm not really sure how we're going to go about that, and we're trying to, live on as tight budget as we can. So thinking I might do a solar setup at the house and just leave and put the washer and dryer in the barn.
We have a full-size refrigerator in the barn and a freezer.
Yeah, and we still have that like small fridge.
Oh,
We
yeah.
could keep that in the house for now, and just keep like a day or two's worth of food down there, and then keep the big fridge and the freezer up in the barn, and so we don't have as much electricity running down in the house. So I'll just maybe set up a small 3 or 5 kilowatt solar system down there, which would cost about what it's going to cost us to run wire down to the house, except at that point now that we'll be self-sufficient on solar and we won't have an additional electric bill for the electric we run. So it's like, almost in hindsight, I'm thinking like, man, almost wonder if it probably would have been more cost effective instead of running electricity from the road down to here, having to spend, at this point it's gonna, if we pay to have the house wired, we're gonna have to spend $20,000 on electrical, where it would have been cheaper for us to just build out our own solar electric system. It would have cost us probably half that, 3/4 of that, and then we would have an electric bill after. And we wouldn't have to be deal with being tied to the grid and losing power if power ever goes out, and that sort of thing. So I think from this point forward, I'm just going to leave the barn wired up for electricity. If I want any sort of sub panels run from there, I'll run them myself, and that's pretty much it. And then maybe we'll just run solar at the house, so we'll just kind of, literally the house will be an off-grid house.
And see how the solar goes and
See how it works. And of course it's going to be an experience because we're going to start off doing it in the winter. But luckily, one thing we discovered this morning is that here in Tennessee, as opposed to in New Hampshire, right now our days are about 10-15 minutes longer than they are in New Hampshire, and the sunrise is a little bit later by about 40 minutes, but the sunset is also later by almost an hour. So we are getting an extra hour of light at nighttime. So it's kind of a handy thing. If we're going to do solar, by Christmas time you have almost an extra hour of daylight here than you do in the Northeast, so it's kind of nice. Bill said, how do you like the Woodland Mill Sawmill so far? I have the 130 Max. And let's see. Live chat. Liked it so much I bought their wood chipper as well. Oh, that's funny.
we have the wood chipper.
Yeah, so we just bought the wood chipper also. Years ago, back in 2016 or 2017, I think I ordered it late 2016, first part of 2017. I got the original HM 130 Woodland Mill Sawmill, and I loved it. It was great. It was the very first bin sawmill I ever owned, so I didn't set it up correctly when I first set it up. I didn't use it correctly when I first started using it. I didn't really have any plan for when I cut wood. I just milled it to whatever, and didn't judge very well when blades were dull, so wood didn't always come out great, but it was quite a learning process. And of course, having a manual sawmill that has thinner steel it's a heck of a sawmill to learn on, because the sawmill itself has some quirks and things that you have to recognize. But it was a great sawmill. I was happy with it. So we had that for 3 years, and we ended up upgrading to a Wood Miser LT15 wide, and that was a great mill. That same thing though, that had some of its own quirks and downfalls that weren't great. The backstops on it were I did not like. The one on the Woodland Mills are way better. But the track on that one was a lot more solid, thick. It was welded, thicker steel, and it didn't tweak and bend as easily as the Woodland Mill sawmill does, because the metal is thinner. and then we sold that, upgraded to a LT40 diesel. And we actually bought that from Nathan Elliott over at Out of the Woods Forestry YouTube channel. If you search for him on YouTube, Out of the Woods Forestry, I think most of the people on this channel know who he is. Not far from here, but we drove down here last year and picked that up and got that from him. And we used that for a good portion of last year. And then December we got an LT50 and sold the 40. And then right after that we decided to move to Tennessee. So of course I did not need an LT50 for what I'm doing here, because I'm not going to be, I may mill just wood that is just as much or just as big, but I'm not going to be milling as much quantity, because I'm not milling for as many other people. I'm not building 200 picnic tables like we did up there and doing production. And we don't have 5-6 employees. We don't have any employees. So we decided, okay, I want to go back to a regular manual sawmill. And I thought about all the options that are out there, and did a little bit additional research, but I pretty much figured I knew what I was going to do. I was so happy with the original Woodland Mill sawmill that I said, well, I'm going to get the Woodland Mill's HM130 Max now, especially since it mills wider. It's got electric start. It's got the auto lube. So there's, those additional features that it has, which are really nice, that it comes built with already. I've already assembled one of the HM130s in the past, so I pretty much already knew what I was in for building it. And I love it. Knowing that the frame can tweak and twist when you're using it, I built so at some point I should do a video going over the sawmill. I'm going to maybe do that coming up soon here. So I built a base for it on 6x6 posts and beams. I poured concrete in the ground. I used the tractor and dug some big 9-inch post holes. I put the 6x6s in the ground, poured concrete around them, cut them off all level with our laser level, and then I got 4 12-foot 6x6s, 2 on each side. So it'll hold up both of the rails. So there's 6x6 beams going across the top of those little short 6x6 posts that are sticking up out of the concrete in the ground, and then those are screwed and attached to those, and then I built the rails for the sawmill on top of those. So of course those 6x6 posts and beams set in concrete in the ground, only a foot or two off the ground, are not going anywhere. So we mounted the frame for the sawmill to that, still using the same leveling feet and all that, so this way we can re-level it as we need to, because wood will still move even though it's pressure treated 6x6s, so we can adjust for that as we need to, but it's not moved. We built it early to mid July, shortly after you got here, right?
Right, yeah.
So we built the sawmill 3 months ago. July, August, September. Yeah, so 3 months ago. It's been sitting there 3 months. We just recently changed the oil, checked the belt tension. I do need to order some spare parts for it, because the belts I'm probably going to wear out pretty quick, because we're going to use it pretty consistently for all the stuff we're building here. I'm going to completely remodel the single wide mobile home that we're getting when we get it, and we're going to remodel it we got lots of really nice trees here, beautiful white oak,
Cedar,
red cedar, walnut, lots of walnut, lots of white oak, red oak of course, a little bit of pine out there, but not a whole lot, a little bit of poplar out there. And then of course it's 27 acres that we have here, and it's pretty much mostly all wooded. So there's a whole lot of other wood out there that I haven't even explored. I know there's a lot of hackberry out there, which I've never milled. So that'll be interesting to try out.
Is that like a softwood or a hardwood?
It's a hardwood, but I don't know how hard. I think somebody told me that it's kind of fairly hard, but we had a contractor here that originally walked our property with us, which, he was kind of questionable anyways, but he said hackberry isn't that great. He also, when he was working on the property, decided to go off on his own and start knocking trees down and clearing part of the property on the other side. I had to tell him to stop doing that. I'm not really sure where he got the idea that we wanted that, but I know he had asked me if we wanted that, and I told him I didn't want to do that, but maybe he misunderstood. So, any case, there's also on the property we have a cave. If you look 4 or 5 videos back or whatever, back in March, I think we did it. Did a video on that little tour of the cave down there. That was pretty cool. We have a pond on the property, but it needs work. So the pond doesn't hold water for very long. So we need to get some, I don't know, I was looking online, researching. There's something called bentonite, which is like a powdered clay that you can use to restore a pond. So at some point, well, I'm going to work on that, but that's going to be a while down the road. So initially, I want to finish building the second floor, the mezzanine in the barn. And so we're going to be milling a lot with that. But I've been really happy with the sawmill. I have a pack of 10 blades that I got from Woodland Mills. And of course we have the Wood-Mizer BMS 250 sharpener. So I sharpened the blades with that. I haven't sharpened any of them yet because we still actually have 2 sharp blades left. So I don't know if I actually sharpen blades probably for at least another week or 2, but I'll probably sharpen them sooner than that so they're ready. But I don't know if anyone has any questions about anything we're doing here. We got a lot going on. It's hard to, I should maybe put the drone up in the sky at some point, maybe do a little video tour of kind of the overall property. Might be kind of cool to check out, and you can kind of see the layout of it just so you have a better idea. But where we're sitting here, the driveway is about 1,200 feet long off from the road. Actually, it's funny, as a matter of fact, yesterday the FedEx truck got stuck at the end of our driveway. He was stuck up there for, I guess, 10-15 minutes. Somebody drove by and saw him stuck and helped him and pulled him out. I had no idea he was even here. He ended up driving down our driveway after he got unstuck, and I saw him, but then he like stopped and turned around because I think he came halfway and kind of saw in this distance, just all you can see once you get about half, 3/4 of the way down the driveway, all you see is the barn and off in the distance on a hill. So he probably saw that and just thought it was just like farmland out here or something. So he turned around and went over to the neighbor's house, and I saw him do that, so I drove up the driveway and caught him. And then he told me that he got stuck at the end of the driveway for a bit, and I was like, I didn't even know you were up here. So it's so far from the road, you don't even almost really know what's going on up the road.
And the dogs scare a lot of people off.
Yeah, people, once they get about halfway down the driveway, you can look off from one high point. So you come down the driveway, and then it turns to the left, and then it goes down a hill, and then back up a hill, and then that's about right where we are. It starts going back down a hill again to where the house is going to go. But where you're sitting on that spot where before it turns left, it's a high point, and where the barn is at is a high point, and the dogs are always hanging out by the barn because they have wireless electric collars, and their electric collar base is sitting right here. So they're usually hanging out right around this spot, so they'll hear people coming down the driveway because they're hound dogs, so they can hear them when they're at the road. So they start barking, and of course they've always been our 4-legged doorbells. So they're handy to have. They'll let us know when people are coming. They know before we do. And you'll see people driving down the driveway, and before they get to that turn, they hear and see the dogs barking, and they kind of stop and think, should I continue? Or so I'll either wave them on, or I'll meet people up there, and it's usually like, UPS, FedEx, Amazon. We had a big Amazon box truck actually surprisingly pull up here. They backed down the driveway.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, they got about halfway and they could see the rest of the driveway, so they pulled off into the field up on the top part of the property. And I could see them. They turned around that big box truck on the field up there, and then they backed all the way down here. And that's how they delivered the wood stove. So we just got a new wood stove. So when we get the house here later this week, I'll probably install the wood stove next week, because this week I have a job I'm doing. So that's another topic, is how we're surviving financially. is I've just been going out once or twice a week, going doing side work, doing excavation. So like this weekend, I'm actually renting a bigger excavator and a hammer breaker for the excavator, and I'm chipping rock out on one of the mountains out here where somebody bought some property and they want to put new fencing around their property. It's kind of funny to me because actually now that I think of it, I'm almost wondering if I'm going to need to chip rock unless they put. So the place where I'm putting the fencing, they hired a company to put the fencing in, and they went out and the old fencing were just cedar posts and just wooden fencing, and it was old fencing, so the owners wanted to replace that, and so the fencing company brought out metal posts, which I thought was kind of odd because they're way up in the mountains, way in the woods. No internet, cell service, nothing up there. And where they're at, Emma's tablet, where they're at, I would have thought it would have been made more sense to just have natural wood out there, but it's all rock in the ground. And so they cut the cedar fence posts off at the ground, and they went to go to put the new metal posts in, and they were just hitting rock. And of course, you're up on the side of a mountain, you're going to probably hit rock. I mean, we were used to that in New Hampshire with all the granite. So it's funny because I don't know how professional these fence installers really are. They claim that they're fence installers in the area. I don't know who they are, who he hired, but that's from what he told me. So you'd think they would have expected that there'd be rock up there, and they'd also think that they'd be prepared for hitting rock. So when they do hit rock, they would know what to do next. Because if you install a fence, you're going to be, drilling 2 feet into the ground. If you're a fencing company, you should be able to install fencing pretty much anywhere. So they started digging down, and they hit rock. So they told the owner, they said, we can't install your fence for you because this is all rock. We just can't install it. And so he told them, well, what if I know somebody that can break the rock and you can install a fence? And so I think at this point they're just kind of giving up because they told him, they said, well, if you want us to come back after he does that, we're going to charge you an extra $2,000 to come back out. So they clearly don't want the job. So he called me and told me the story, and he said, if you can chip it out, they'll come back and install it. I'm like, all right. So then he called me back after they told him it was going to be a lot more money for them just to come back, and he said, can you install the fence for me too? And I said, well, I've never installed a standard fence before. I've installed like animal fencing and stuff, which doesn't have to look pretty. I installed a small little fence around her garden, which I thought kind of came out nice.
It was really nice.
But I've never obviously done it for a customer before, so I always like to be open. I said, I don't install fences professionally, but I feel confident I can install a fence for you. So I said I can definitely chip the rock out and put holes there. But then I'm just thinking now as I'm talking about it, where they cut those cedar fence posts off, those were 2 feet in the ground. Instead of them cutting them off, if they just pulled them out, they could have put the new fence posts back in the same spot. So I'm going to take a look at that when I get up there this weekend. But basically, long story short, I'm renting an excavator and a hammer for the excavator, and if I need to, I'm going to go up there, I'm going to chip that out, and then we'll have the tractor up there with the post hole digger, so I'll chip it all out, fill it and pack it in dirt again, and then poke the holes in the ground and put the metal posts in there and pack it down in. I got to ask him if he's going to want me to fill that in with concrete. I actually could ask him this morning if he wants me to fill the holes with concrete, because I thought he had mentioned that, but I didn't see any concrete up there because all the materials and supplies are up there. So if he needs concrete, I'm going to have to go get that. But long story short, I'm going up to install a fence for him this weekend. Hopefully, at the very least, I'm going to chip out the rock and get all that done. He also wants the side of the river along the edge of the road cleaned up, a bunch of brush hogging done. He wants his driveway redone. There was some other work that he wanted done up there. Some logs removed. A little bit of brush clearing, so that's going to be a good job and last us a couple of weeks, and with our small budget that, you know, our budget here is half of what it was in New Hampshire, because, you know, we just bought land, so we sold our house up there and buy a house here. And of course, with the way the market is, we were able to sell our house for twice what we paid for it. So we took the opportunity to and said, you know, well, if that being the case, we could live debt free. So we took what we got from that and bought land here. And so now we, you know, our budget's half, so I only got to work a couple days a week, and we can cover our budget that way. And then, of course, with the new log splitter,
I'm so excited.
Stacey's excited to run that log splitter. So
Just like the one in New Hampshire. Was it a Rugged Made?
Rugged Made, yeah.
It's really cool. I can't wait. Maybe tomorrow?
We should have it done and finished built today. So we got another Rugged Made log splitter like we had before. That if you've watched the channel for any period of time, if you look back in the videos, you'll see some of the videos we did of the Rugged Made. It was a Rugged Split 737, so it was a 37 ton. We pretty much got the exact same log splitter, except this one's a 28 ton. So it's going to have a smaller hydraulic pump on it. It's got the same motor, smaller hydraulic pump on it, and probably a smaller piston. It didn't really look that much smaller though. So it's a 28 ton. I'm pretty much expecting it to be just about as good as what we had before. We never did any sort of high production. We weren't cutting and splitting 100, 200, 300, 500 cord a year. You know, if we did 20, maybe 30 cord in a year, that was a lot for us. I don't expect we're going to do a whole lot more than that here, especially since in New Hampshire we would heat, it would be 8 to 10 cord a year we would cut and split and burn just for ourselves, with 3 wood stoves and keeping the house nice and warm and the workshop. You know, we would go through that. But here, I don't know if we're going to go through, we went through, I think, 2 cord, a cord and a half a month up there. I'm guessing we'll go through, what, a half to a full cord a month here. And just during the coldest months, December, January, February. So, I don't know, 3, 4 cord, maybe, I guess, 3 to 5 here.
It could be almost done in a week.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to split, you know, you could split a cord of wood in a day with that. I mean, realistically, you could probably split a cord of wood in an hour or two, but we don't typically like to rush it, so we just, you know.
We do it for fun.
We enjoy it. I mean, we do it for fun, but to heat our house.
Right.
We do it because we need to, but we also do it because we enjoy it.
Right. I clear my mind.
Yeah. I'm glad you enjoy it, though. That's good. Just going to find your work tunes.
They're here somewhere.
Yeah, so and then of course, we got plenty of woods here, so as we're clearing and that sort of thing over time, we're probably going to end up with a lot more firewood than we really need to. So we'll probably sell some of it just to help offset the cost of the splitter and some of the expenses here. And then of course with some of the work that I do, I end up bringing back brush and things like that people want removed from their property, which is why one of the reasons why I got the wood chipper, because we can turn a lot of that wood into chips, which is great for the animals. We can dump it into their pens to, like the pigs, kind of firm up the ground in the pens. And then for the chickens, we can use the wood chips in there and mix it in with like some of the sawdust from the mill and some shavings from woodworking, that sort of thing. So we're trying to make use of all the products that we can. Another potential job I might have is also going to clean up somebody's property of a bunch of logs and that sort of thing. So I do have a bunch more logs that we probably will be bringing back here too, because I'm going to preserve the forest here. So I don't plan on just kind of clear cutting it just to get the logs. I'll cut what I need to cut for what we need to clear for. I'm not going to cut a whole lot extra just for milling it. I will cut some to help maintain the forest, to provide, allow new growth. So if there's some trees that are kind of at their peak maturity, it makes sense to cut them, because those trees will eventually die and fall and rot. And so you get to the point where they're at their peak maturity, you cut them down, and then it allows the younger trees to rise and grow again. And with the walnut and the oak, with the acorns and the walnuts dropping to the ground, they'll pretty much grow back themselves. There's already going to be a bunch of saplings out there already growing underneath them that would not normally be able to grow so well if those trees stayed there, because they're going to tower over them, suck all the nutrients out of the ground. They'll suck all the sun out of the sky and won't let the saplings grow. So that's kind of, my idea of how you would kind of rejuvenate the forest. And it's kind of like a garden. It's the way I look at a forest. It's, you got all the trees out there, they grow to full mature fruit, basically, and you harvest them when they're ready to be harvested, and then new stuff comes in and grows in behind it.
We got that beautiful oak tree.
Yeah, we have a big, massive oak tree. If you saw in one of the previous videos, I showed it's like probably a 6-foot diameter red oak.
Definitely.
Just like, I sometimes forget where we're sitting because the camper was just moved not long ago. But just like right there, you can actually see it right through this window. But does anyone have any questions? I'm just sitting here kind of rambling about all the things we're doing. You have tell them about some of the stuff that you want to do. And
well, Ryan's doing outdoor furniture now, and he's going to be making a greenhouse. He'll probably pick up more during the springtime. What else are we doing?
she'll let me do all the talking.
Sure.
You'll just
The little kids
stare at the
are
camera.
at school right now, making some new friends.
Who are the little kids?
Kyle and Emma. They'll always be the little kids, as much as they're not little anymore.
So yeah, Kyle and Emma are in middle school locally here. They did have the option of homeschooling, but they wanted to go to school because it's a new area for them, so they wanted to meet new friends. So I can't blame them for that. Ryan's now finished high school. He finished high school doing online school and homeschooling, and did a good job with that. He finished up. We're proud of him.
Yeah.
And so, like Stacey was saying, he's now been making stuff. He's making like park benches. He made Adirondack chair. He made. He's
Gonna do a greenhouse.
He's gonna make a greenhouse. What he's been doing is he goes online and he'll find plans for something he wants to make, and he'll send a link to me of those plans, and he'll ask me what I think, and then I'll look at it and say, yeah, that's a good idea, make that. And then I'll tell him, get your plans, download them, whatever, and copy the cut list of everything you need, send it to me, and we'll mill it. So now I've also been training him on running the sawmill. So we spent a day doing that, running the sawmill together. And I'll do some videos of him and I running the sawmill, but I shared some, I think, video and picture of that on Instagram, Facebook, something like that. So if you check that out, you'll see that stuff there. So there are a lot of things that we do that we don't always make videos of, that I'm just showing pictures of, because there's some projects here that we kind of need to get done a little bit quicker to make our lives a little bit more comfortable, a little bit easier. Especially right now with the barn and the mezzanine. We did build one section of that already that I didn't record, but we'll probably record the next section of it and go over how we built the first section. But I'm building 12-foot sections at a time. The barn is 40 feet long, so we're building 3 12-foot sections and then a short 4-foot section from there. And then we're going to turn the corner and then go along the back wall with the mezzanine that back there as well. So we'll have basically 12 by 50-ish area of mezzanine. So we're going to have an extra 600 square feet in the barn, because we'll have that mezzanine in there. So we'll have 1,200 square foot barn, and then the additional 600 square feet up top. So we'll basically have almost 1,800 square foot of space in there where we can do stuff. So, and then I'm going to leave the main opening there where the door is, the big kind of raising roll-up door, and leave that main area there, 14-foot ceilings. Hey Jared, how's it going? Good to see you. We're just talking about all the things we've been working on and stuff we're planning on doing. It started off a little dark this morning. You can see now through the lines in the back it's starting to brighten up. I'll flip the screen around. I think it'll let me.
It's a little bit of a mess, but
you can see the sun now starting to come through the window over there. That's actually not the side the sun comes up on, but you can see the daylight through there. So yeah, it was a little dark, so we're thinking like, what do we do for the next, half hour, 45 minutes until it gets light out enough to work outside. That's primarily what we do. So yeah, first thing we step outside this morning, we're gonna probably work on the log splitter and the chicken coop I'm building for a customer. I gotta mill a little bit of siding for that. They've been waiting for that chicken coop, and I was due to kind of have that done for them by the end of September. So I ended up having a friend who was willing to help me get it done and just bust it out in a couple days and get it done quick. So he's been here. He came by here the last couple days, and it's almost done. So, but I do plan on building another one like it, so we'll have one ready to sell. So I'll probably record that and may even start, as we're building some of these things, update the plans that I have for those, and maybe start putting, building out a website for our new endeavors here under Practically Independent, doing a website for that, and then sharing, kind of doing a little bit of a blog story with pictures and stuff so you can kind of see what we're doing on there. And then it's just some of the things that we offer also for kind of services and products. I'll probably offer plans at some point for some of the things that we're building, and of course firewood. We're going to sell some firewood, lumber, live edge slabs, things like that. We'll probably do some more of that. Not as on the scale that we were doing it before, because we don't have to. It's something that we do enjoy doing. One thing that during the year or so that we were doing a lot of production and selling a lot of things, we ended up with 4, 5, 6 employees at one point. We didn't do any videos during that period just because we were so busy running the business and building products for customers that we could barely keep up with doing that. Videos, there was unfortunately no way we could do it and keep up at the same time. So unfortunately, it kind of stinks that we never got video of all that, because that would have been kind of an interesting, fun thing to share. But last year, we built up our business and we were just running hard. But basically, during that period, we were milling and selling a lot of furniture, outdoor furniture, indoor furniture, lumber, live edge slabs, and got to the point where the solar kiln couldn't keep up, so we actually built a dehumidification kiln, which of course I didn't do a video on either because I didn't end up having time to do that. But we sold that before we left New Hampshire, so I'm gonna build another one here. So I'll do a video on building that. I'll probably build another solar kiln because of course we're gonna have more months of warm weather here, so we'll be able to dry more wood with the solar kiln. The solar kiln may actually be enough, because we're not going to, sell as much here as we did there. One, I don't think there's as much of a market for it here as there was up there. And because there's more sawmills around here. But two, the cost of things here are cheaper. So we're not going to be able to sell things for what we sold them there up in New Hampshire. Probably at least 10-20% cheaper for the most part. So there's that. So we're not going to sell as much here, and because we don't need to, but we enjoy what we do. What I was getting to is up in New Hampshire, it got to the point 5, 6 employees. I was pretty much just trying to keep up with managing it all. I never got to really build furniture. I never really, starting out, showing people how to do some of the things that we were doing. I did get to build some stuff as things were really starting to ramp up, but it got to a point where I didn't do any of it. We even had people delivering stuff. Because there was a point they were so busy building everything, I was out delivering it, and then even a point where they were delivering it. So blade sharpening, same thing. I had people sharpening blades for people. I wasn't even sharpening blades. The main things I was doing is kind of managing everything. And when things broke down, I fixed them. I loaded and unloaded the kiln with help. I did do some, probably a little more than half the deliveries anyway.
I mean, you did a lot of the deliveries.
Yeah, her and I did a bunch of the deliveries, firewood deliveries we did, and then of course, just like I said, anytime something broke down or needed to be fixed or replaced or whatever, I was doing that, helping kind of restock the shop with more lumber. But maybe at some point I'll pull up some old little video clips and pictures. We did do a lot of social media posts on Facebook and Instagram, so I don't know if you guys saw any of that, but we did post a lot of stuff on there, so at some point I could capture some of those old videos and pictures that we took and kind of put a little video together with some clips and pictures and just kind of do a little story of the short period of when we had our business growing up there until we had some entitled jerks move in next door that decided they didn't like what we were doing. So it is what it is. It's fine. It works out fine for us because we're actually.
I think we'll end up being happier here.
Yeah, I think we already are.
Yeah.
It kind of worked out great in the long run because we're really enjoying what we're doing here because we're taking our time. The whole point I was getting at with the whole business thing was not really to go in deep into everything we were doing, but the point of that story was I really enjoyed doing the hands-on stuff. I like, running my chainsaw, running my sawmill. I like building things, and so now I get to do that again. So I'm enjoying doing that.
People are a lot nicer around here too.
Yeah, for the most part. We had a lot of good friends. Still have a lot of good friends up in New Hampshire. Good people, but one thing you could say up there, people were definitely less tolerant. They more wanted to be involved in your business.
Right.
Wanted to know everything you were doing. Here, you don't have that. People keep to themselves, unless they're offering to help you with something, or they just want to be your friend. They otherwise don't really care what you're doing. As long as you're not hurting or affecting them in any way, they don't. Even if when it comes to if they hear what you're doing or see what you're doing, it doesn't bother them because they don't have to listen or look at what you're doing. The difference between that and up there is if people could see or hear what you were doing and they didn't like it, they made a big deal out of it. Even if it was within the law, which with what we were doing was, but they still decided to make a big deal out of it. So anyway, not to dwell on that. Here we don't have that problem. And the fact that we're, a quarter mile from the road, we're not going to really have that problem anyway. For the most part, if you want to see what we're doing, you'd have to have a drone or a helicopter to really be able to see anything that we're doing, unless you're invited to come down, which is how we like it, because we can just be down here and enjoy ourselves, and we don't really want the stress of having to have any sort of conflict. It's not something we enjoy or want to be any part of. We just want to enjoy our lives, and we love what we do, and we mean well. We've helped a lot of people since we've been here already, and made a lot of really good friends that way. And we like helping people. So, and we just had some of our neighbors come down here yesterday. They drove down here in their lawn tractor and little trailer. As an older couple, they drove down here. He was driving the tractor and she was sitting in the little trailer
I was
behind
gonna
him.
ask you how she got down here.
Yeah. So she sat on the back of the trailer and the little lawn tractor behind him, and they drove down. They had to have driven, yeah, more than a quarter mile down here on that little lawn tractor because they drove from their property to here. So that was kind of funny. So they drove down here. They bring down buckets of they call it slop, which is all their scrap food, not pig food, but human food that's just scrap and waste from their food, and they collect buckets of it, and then when the buckets get more than half full or so, they'll bring the buckets down to us, and they like to see the pigs, so they like to go over to the pig pen with us, and they'll dump the scrap food into the pig pen and watch them eat it, and come down and chat and see what we're up to. So it's cool. Like they really like what we're doing down here, so it's really refreshing actually. It's pretty amazing. It's really nice because you just have people around you who just really enjoy what you do too, and they like seeing it. It's like a whole nother world. Just love it. I feel like this was meant to be.
Yeah, everything seems to be working out. Like the kids at the school, like the children there seem to be making friends, and the kids there seem to be decent.
Yeah. The kids. I mean, the running team that they're on. So, for example, like yesterday.
Yeah.
The running team that they're on, they have one kid who, he's he has a little bit more weight on him. That's the best way to put it. He's a little bit more out of shape than the rest of them, and so he's on the running team. And so of course he typically comes in on the tail end of every race. But so when the race, everybody comes in except for him, they'll be waiting for him to come around the last corner. So pretty much the whole crowd's there waiting for him to come in, and everybody waits patiently. Nobody has a problem with it. They think it's great that he's doing what he does. And when everybody but him is in, our kids, they're on our kids' team. So our kids and their whole team go back out onto the track and run back to wherever he is, and they run pace with him until he comes in, so he doesn't run alone. It's just awesome to see stuff like that. Like, it really makes your heart warm, and knowing that you're doing the right thing and that you're in a good place. You see, people that have generally a good heart, good kids with good heads on their shoulders, kids of all ages getting along with each other. When you move into a new area with children, especially the way I grew up, I don't know how it was for any of you guys or for you, but I know where I grew up and the time I grew up in, one or the other or both. I moved around a lot, and it was not a good time. It was never a good time to be a new kid in school.
I don't think the kids would have done that, like, run with somebody else at where I went to school. The kids were mean.
Yeah, so if it were me in school, because I was, husky when I was growing up, from the age of, 10 to whatever, 18, if I was in a running group, I would have definitely come in far. I wouldn't have run in a running group, first of all, but they didn't have running groups actually when I was a kid anyway. But if I was running in a running group when I was a kid, I would have certainly been coming in last. I would have been coming in a lot further back than him, and instead of my teammates cheering me on and running pace with me, so I wasn't running alone, they would have just been picking on me instead. It's a whole different, I don't know, maybe it's just a whole different time.
I don't know.
Or maybe just the places we grew up in, we just happened to have grown up with people of a different mindset. But Bradford in New Hampshire, it was the same way though. The kids there were great. They always cheered each other on. People of all ages got along well. Nobody really judged each other so much. Like, they got along really well there. So it was a great community there too. So leaving a community like that and to a whole nother area, unfortunately, more than half of the adults weren't like the kids in the area, unfortunately. So yeah, a lot of people that weren't as it'd be nice if everybody was like that of all ages, but here you have that pretty much throughout the whole community for the most part. And of course you got bad apples everywhere, so there's people that aren't like that, here. Hey Rinda, good morning from the 603. How's it going?
I got my 603 cup.
Yeah, New Hampshire cup. How is the 603 this morning? Yeah, we were just talking about kind of moving from one place to another and the differences coming here from, there. And so, of course, you have a sunrise. Your sunrise is about 40 minutes before ours. So, I'm up this morning. I wanted to go out at 7 o'clock to work, but it was still dark out. So it's not until about 7:30, 7:45 till it's kind of light out enough to go out and do anything. So we figured we'd jump on and do a live stream until that point, and we're just about there now. It's great up here. I'll never move. New Hampshire is great. It's a beautiful state. A lot of good people there. It was definitely better than where I grew up originally. Having grown up just outside of Boston, I would most certainly never go back there. But I do love New Hampshire. The one big kicker of New Hampshire, at least for me, was
the cold weather.
Cold weather. Like right now ain't so bad in New Hampshire. It's pretty. It's not too terribly cold. Once you hit November, December, and you start getting temperatures like, I don't know, was it last year or the year before? At Thanksgiving, I think it was like -4, and we had like a 12-inch snowstorm.
I think it was the one before.
Yeah, so it was like 2 years ago, and that won't happen here. So, so yeah, you grew up outside of Boston as well. Yep, and you'll never move back either. Yeah, that's one move I would never make. I don't think I was really ever a city boy at heart, even though I grew up in the city. I just never, it's weird from birth, I never really adjusted to it. It never sat well with me. I always wanted to go out, and when I went outside, I wanted to go ride my bike off far distances. And the only way I could do it is if I did it without asking my parents and just took off. I think just kids in general are just naturally, they want to go and take off and, spread their, it's kind of like having a dog cooped up. It's like, you just can't do it. So I think, if you live in the city and you're growing up as, a single person or just a couple with no kids, it's probably not too big a deal, especially if you enjoy, more populated areas and cities and nightlife and,
It's easier if you want to do stuff all the time too.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to do like going out to eat, museums, all that sort of thing, then it's great. We can even do a lot of that around here, actually, probably more of it around here within a closer distance.
Right, it's like 20 minutes to get to like Walmart.
Well, yeah, so it's 20, 30 minutes. Well, it's like, close to 30 minutes to get to Walmart. Rinda says, I'm in the North Country right now doing some shopping. Oh, nice. We actually still have property up in Bethlehem in the North Country. Just outside of just north of the White Mountains, on the north side of the White Mountains. But yeah, we love it up that area is probably the best area of New Hampshire. And I was actually just saying to somebody recently, yesterday I think, online, if it weren't for the fact that the North Country in New Hampshire was so freezing cold and had so much snow, we actually bought the property up there. I had actually every intention on potentially moving up to that area and up to that property. But when it got to winter time, it just was a reminder of, I don't like the winter. I don't like the freezing cold. Which of course here we're still going to get, temperatures in January and February. We'll have night temperatures that are in the 20s.
It still snows here.
And we'll still have snow. We'll never have any snow that's going to stick for more than a day or two. You still have frost that, you'll start getting frost probably later this month or maybe next month. But the nice thing is we'll have longer growing seasons. We'll have a longer season where we can work outside in comfortable weather, because the highs in January and February are in the average highs in January and February here are in the 40s, mid to upper 40s, low 50s. But there are days where during the day the temperatures are going to be, there's going to be days where the temperatures are going to be in the 20s even during the day, but there's going to be days where the temperatures are going to be in the 60s or 70s during the day, even in the winter. I live in the Mount Washington Valley. Oh, okay, yep. So that's right. So you're not going to be that far from Bethlehem.
We delivered a lot of picnic tables up that way to a tennis camp, was it?
Oh yeah, I think it was a tennis camp. Yeah, there's a tennis camp. I forget where that was.
Franconia?
Somewhere near Franconia. It was near the tramway.
Yeah.
If I remember right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was there's the basin up there.
Yeah.
So we were delivered a bunch of outdoor furniture up there. And of course we spent a bunch of time going up and back and forth to Bethlehem to our property up there where we built our little cabin, which I would have loved to do videos of what we did up there, but never had a whole lot of time to do it because we were running our business at the same time. But that was during the period that we were working on we weren't running our business down, other people were, but I'd rather deal with the snow than hurricane, earthquakes, or tornadoes.
True.
Oh, yeah, same here. Yep, I'm with you on that. If it weren't for hurricanes, tornadoes, and stuff like that, earthquakes, we would probably even have moved to somewhere that was even a little bit warmer, going,
right.
over maybe to like middle southern Tennessee. Although I like this area is nice because you also have the mountains and the lakes and the rivers. But I know they have more of that. They have more of that in other parts of Tennessee. But basically, if you go west of here, there's more tornadoes. If you go east of here, there's more hurricanes. If you go further south of here down to the coast, you get a lot worse hurricanes and much more extreme heat and more population as you get into Florida. This was just like the perfect spot because here we still have all 4 seasons. It'll snow, from what we hear and seen, 3 to 5 times a year. You could get anything from just a dusting to potentially sometimes 3 to 5, 6 inches. Doesn't last more than a day or two, so you still get a taste of the snow, but you don't have to live in it every day. You get cold weather, you get warm weather, but you don't get the extreme of each. We don't get. I know somebody in the area who's lived here their entire life. They're in their 40s, and they've never seen a tornado. So it's fairly rare in the area we're in that you'll see a tornado. It's not very common. If you go west of here, it's a lot more common. If you go east of here, your hurricanes over in North Carolina, as they come up the coast, will be pretty destructive. But here being in Tennessee, even though we're on the east side of Tennessee, like we just saw with Hurricane Ian, we just got a couple inches of rain. And today is going to be sunny and 75, in early October. So I'm okay with that. We're not going to really see any devastating weather from hurricanes. We're not going to really see any devastating weather from tornadoes. There's no earthquakes to be really heard of around here. Occasionally they have forest fires here, but it's not common we're going to see that in this particular spot. As far as the wildlife and any sort of dangerous wildlife goes, you get dangerous wildlife anywhere you go. Coyotes, bear, they have those in New Hampshire, bobcats. They all have the same things here. Additional things that we do have here are
snakes.
We do have 2 different types of venomous snakes in the area, copperheads and cottonmouths, but it's a rare occurrence that people get struck by them, and when they do, you typically go to the doctor and they have an antidote for it, and even if you didn't do that, the people have to have a reaction to it, so not everybody reacts to the venom from snake bites. It's more people's mindset and perception that it happens a lot more than it does here. It's not super common. I mean, it happens every year, but just like in New Hampshire, things that happen, every year somebody can get attacked by a bear, a moose, people's dogs or cats can get killed by bobcats and coyotes. So there's a little bit more risk here when it comes to like venomous snakes, venomous spiders, the black widow, the brown recluse. Black widow isn't as common, but the brown recluse is another venomous spider. But same thing with that, is some people have reaction to it, other people don't. I don't know of any cases in the area that anybody has like died from venomous snakes or spiders anywhere in the recent history. If you get bit by either one, you go to the hospital. Whether you know if it's a venomous snake or not, you go anyway, and they'll take a look at it and tell you. But like I said, we've talked to anybody we've talked to around here, nobody we know, and we've met quite a few people around here. Nobody we've talked to about these things has ever gotten bit by one. So it's not like a common occurrence. That's something you're going to deal with all the time. So it's like getting in your car, like getting in your car and drive down the road. You can get in a car. You're more likely to get in a car accident than you are going to be getting bit by a snake or a venomous spider. It is what it is. So we don't worry too much about those things. So that's probably the worst part of it, would be those things, and they're not even really that big a deal. I walk through the woods and the brush without being too concerned about it. Of course, I watch where I'm walking, because you don't know what you're going to run into. I mean, you could step in a hole and break your leg.
Yeah.
So I just watch where I'm walking, and if you see or hear something, you take a second look. But I'm actually dwelling on it more than I even need to.
Yeah, I ran into my first snake a couple days ago, but it wasn't anything.
Oh yeah, so that was a rat snake. Gray.
It was pretty looking.
Yeah, it was blue actually. It was a eastern rat snake, or I guess around here they call them a gray rat snake. But when I looked them up online, I guess like it was a more common term for it was an eastern rat snake. And the rat snakes are great. They don't typically bite people. I guess they probably could if you like pick them up and like cause harm to them, but they're not huge. They're not going to cause you a whole lot you're not going to cause you harm or pain to people. But they're rat snakes, so they eat mice and rats and rodents. And from what I hear, I believe they'll even kill venomous snakes, like other snakes. So, yeah, that's the only snake we've seen. We've seen a worm snake, which they're harmless too. I've heard coyote, and the next day, yesterday, I went outside and I saw the coyote footprints over by the pig pen, a whole bunch of them. So I think there was a whole pack of coyote over there, but they didn't bother the pigs, which worked out good. So yeah, I mean, and like I said, as far as like natural disasters go, it's pretty much very rare or almost unheard of in this particular spot. We do get they'll still have tornado warnings here, but we actually had a tornado more recently in Bradford, New Hampshire, than they've had here in this town. We had a tornado in Bradford 5 years ago or so ish. Sometime in the last 5 years.
It was a mess.
There was a tornado and destroyed forests and other things in New Hampshire. It was bad in that area. So that wasn't good. Nobody got killed by it or anything, but it caused a lot of damage. But that was more recent than they've had a tornado here in the town we're in. So, I guess we're just as likely to have a tornado here as we were likely to have a tornado there. So, I'm not worried about tornadoes. Hurricanes, we've had hurricanes come through New Hampshire. And any hurricane damage you're going to get in New Hampshire, they probably have had worse hurricane damage in New Hampshire than here. So I'm really not worried about that. Of course, like I said, earthquakes don't happen here. So a lot of those things we came into consideration when we moved here, before moving here. There was a lot of thought. It wasn't just like the moment we decided to move was kind of like let's just do it.
Yeah.
You know?
But
But
we had to leave earlier because New Hampshire was getting an ice storm, and we had Christmas in a truck stop.
Yeah, so that was fun. We decided it was like, I don't know.
2 weeks before Christmas, or a week?
Yeah, it was like a week before Christmas. We decided let's move to Tennessee. Let's take this during Christmas vacation and go look at property. So that's what we did, and
we had a property before we left.
Yeah, so we found a camper that week, registered it, hooked it up to the truck, drove down. Spent the week between Christmas and New Year's here. We stopped at we were actually, like she said, we left. We were planning on leaving Christmas night or the day after Christmas, but because we were getting an ice storm up there in New Hampshire, we decided to leave on Christmas Eve. So we made it halfway down. We were somewhere in Pennsylvania. We stopped at a truck stop and went to sleep.
New York.
Was it New York?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it must have been like the west side of New York, almost in New Jersey, Pennsylvania. But pulled into a truck stop there, parked Christmas Eve, stayed over Christmas Eve, woke up Christmas morning, and the kids opened their Christmas presents in a camper at a truck stop.
It was really fun, actually.
But we had fun. You know, it was not something you normally do, and of course, I mean, we had fun with it. Of course, the kids are going to like that. And it's cool. You wake up next to a tractor trailer and open your Christmas presents. So it was fun. And then we made the rest of the trip down and looked at properties, and like she said, by the time we got back to New Hampshire, we had a property already picked out and an offer accepted and everything.
Yeah, we should probably
The rest is history.
get to work.
But yeah, we should probably get to work. Looks like we still got 6 people on here watching, but it says we've been on here for over an hour. We're all talk right now, and we're not getting anything done. So we better get off and do that, and finish my coffee, my Disney cup. So we have a whole lot more we could tell and talk to you about, but if anyone has any questions, we haven't had a whole lot of comments here, but if anyone has any questions about stuff we're doing, or just kind of comments in general, you guys are our cheer section, so and we always like to hear about what you guys are up to and doing, especially from up in New Hampshire or anywhere else in the country, what's going on. Of course, there's lots going on in the country, so always love to hear about how you guys are all doing and what you're up to. But that being said, we're gonna take off, get our log splitter built, finish building that chicken coop, go look at some work for some customers, get the blade sharpener moved over here from our shop.
We're not probably getting all this done, but
if we can get all that done today, we'd be happy. I think we could do it if we get off our butts right now.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by this morning. I know it was early. Appreciate it. We're going to do a lot more of these soon, and hope you'll stop by for them as well. Give us a thumbs up on your way out. Appreciate it. Thanks for the coffee talk. We'll see you next time.